Pregame.com.
Welcome back to Pregame.tv. I'm Steve Fezzik here with Bryan Leonard, and most importantly, for this discussion at least, VR is going to be breaking down a little bit of the upcoming UFC. You're going to talk about Is it
Jose?
Jose. That's what I thought.
Yes.
Jose Aldo. You can see I follow this in depth.
Religiously.
Exactly. He's the champ. He's going up against the former champ at a higher weight class, dropping down, and sounds like
your work.
Cursory amount. And it's funny from a total square betting. Maybe I got.
That's why you have an unbiased perspective. Actually, with Scott Spreitzer last week, to prepare for the UFC video, he handicapped the fight that I was breaking down, and he said, I like the under 1.5 rounds at plus whatever it was. He said, I know nothing about it, but just from what I had to do to prepare for the show, I like the under. And I agreed with it, and it was a first-round knockout.
Well, here's interesting, because my first take on this was that here you got this guy Aldo, who's just a tank.
A beast.
Loves being on his feet, loves the kicks he's throwing. He is kicking harder than anybody I've ever seen before. I don't want to come near the guy. You know, he scares me. And now I got a guy at a higher weight class, Edgar. He's coming down. Some people say he should have won, you know, at 155.
Right.
He's coming down to 145. And immediately I'm worried, because people are saying, well, that should have been his natural weight class. Well, if that was his natural weight class, why was he 10 pounds higher? I'm worried he's like lying somewhere on a sauna, you know, trying to sweat out the weight. So, you know, so you're going to go ahead and break this all down for me. But Bryan, we were talking before we went on air about it's Super Bowl weekend, and these fights, the lines of this fight, this game's at Mandalay Bay. You can bet on it at, you know, the all the MGM properties. We might see some weird lines and disparity, right, between different places.
You've always seen that, especially when you get real popular fighters at the property. Especially if you get a favorite.
Yeah.
At that property, you're gonna have to lay a lot more. So, with the situation in Vegas now, where we got 5-6 lines makers in the entire town, you can walk next door and get a whole lot better lines. So if you're coming into town to bet this, make sure you shop around.
Because a guy might just walk up and drop 10 dimes down.
And it's that kind of weekend.
And you see that all the time. You'll be there, right?
It's that kind of weekend, Steve, exactly. And with so many of the VIPs coming to town, and the casinos that kind of entice them to come to town, giving them tickets to UFC 156 and stuff like that, they're going to be there. And if they're going to be there and they're not going to be playing blackjack, they're going to put action on the fights. And that always happens, where you see a big disparity in the lines.
And all the Super Bowl bettors, too, they love taking all these pluses. Will it be the same this weekend? You'll see people looking to load up on the dogs?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Very good.
I'll tell you, and with this fight, you want reasons to back Frankie Edgar at that high of a number, because again, he was a former champ.
Getting 2-1 almost.
You're getting, exactly. And he's the bigger man who fought at 155, obviously. But if you really look at why he had success at 155, it's simple. He had more speed than the rest of the 155ers. And the reason for that is because he cut such little weight to get to 155. He walked around at around 160, they said, where most 155-pounders walk around at around 175.
Sure.
These are big guys that cut around 15, 20, 25 pounds.
It's like the biggest loser.
And because most of them have wrestled their whole lives, they know how to cut weight. To a wrestler, it comes natural, knowing how to cut that kind of weight. But with him being a smaller guy, he was able to use his footwork and his speed against much bigger guys. Now he's dropping down to 145, where these guys are already fast. And I think he's not going to have that kind of edge that he had, where he could get in, land some strikes, and get out of harm's way. That's not going to happen against Aldo. And when I broke this fight down, I said, how does Frankie Edgar win this fight? Where does it have to go for him to win this fight?
Down on the ground, right?
And it's not going to go there. When you look at Jose Aldo, he stops 95% of takedown attempts. And if it goes there, he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He just is such an efficient striker. He hasn't needed to ever take him down to the ground. He's 21-1 for a reason. And like I said, I just can't bet Frankie Edgar, even though the one advantage he'll have is conditioning. He's always so conditioned. But I think Aldo knows going in that he's going to have to bring a full gas tank. So I think you're not going to see him gas. Where in the past, that's all I've been hearing this week. We've seen Aldo gas in the past if it goes to the late rounds. Well, against Frankie Edgar, he's going to come in well-conditioned, because he knows that's going to be Edgar's game plan. Let me take this fight in the deep waters, and if it gets in the deep waters, I think you're going to see a fresher Aldo than we've seen in his past fights. I just don't see anywhere this could go where Edgar has the advantage. And finally, when you look at Edgar, the scar tissue that kid has now from all those wars, when this fight's over, he's going to look like the more beat-up fighter. And in the eyes of the judges, as round by round goes, and he's walking back to his corner, and he's all beat up, and Aldo's walking back to his corner like Ben Henderson did and doesn't look like he has a scratch on him, it's tough to give the guy that looks like he got hit by a truck that round. And that's why Henderson beat him, because he doesn't have that scar tissue. He looked at the end of the fight, he looked fresh. And Frankie Edgar looked like he got hit by a truck. How can you give him the fight?
Before we go to the best bet and make it official, let's transition real quick, because this is a huge card here.
Exactly.
I know you don't want to give away any secrets. Anything you would like to talk about some of the other fights and what's going to happen?
Quickly, last week I gave a chalk parlay where I said you have to go with a bottle of water if you're going to walk to the betting window, because you're going to have to swallow some chalk to get down, but it cashed easily. And I think we got another 3-team chalk parlay. Going to add Aldo to that. And then we're going to go in the heavyweights with Alistair Overeem, who, again, he's been off because of suspension for a while. Because of ring rust, that's why this line is where it is. Believe it or not, this true odds should be closer to -500 than where it's sitting right now. I think this is an easy fight for him. And then you look at Rashad Evans against Nogueira, who Evans' wrestling is just too superior, and even his striking's too superior. Another favorite that I think is easy money. So you tie in Aldo, Overeem, and Evans. Take a sip of water, tie it in together, take that sip of water, and I think you go 3-0.
Very, very good. And maybe wait, because people will be looking to play plus.
They're going to look. They're going to be betting the dogs. They're going to be betting the dogs.
Saturday afternoon, late afternoon.
I agree.
Very good. But let's go ahead and make it official on Aldo. Let's go ahead and do your best bet.
UFC 156 at Mandalay Bay. I know the fans are going to be cheering for Frankie Edgar, and the bettors are going to be too, but I just can't do it. I'm going to lay the price with Jose Aldo. I'm going to wait till closer to bet time. I think this line's going to be dropping. Remember, bettors like underdogs when it comes to fights, and Frankie Edgar just has a very loyal fan base that will be backing him. But regardless of where this fight goes, standing, Aldo has the advantage. On the ground, Aldo has the advantage. I don't think it's even going to go there. And I just can't see him losing this fight after taking out, the way he has positioned himself at 145. I don't see anyone that could beat him right now, especially someone who's coming down from 155, whose advantage was his footwork, and he won't have that at the lower weight class.
Make a convincing argument. Like I said, on the film that I saw on this guy, man, those lower kicks.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And the reason I didn't touch on that is, that's exactly it. That everyone knows. And Edgar had a problem with Henderson with that. Henderson landed those kicks, and if Aldo lands them, he's just going to slow him down, slow him down, slow him down. I mean, it's going to be a methodical breakdown. What do you think, Brian?
I can't disagree with anything you said.
No?
And that's an honest answer.
All right, so you don't have to worry about Brian playing devil's advocate here. Very good. Well, we had a good time, guys. Thanks for having me here once again as the host here at pregame.tv. If you like what you saw, and heck, even if you didn't like what you saw with the big weekend, be sure to check back here on Friday night. We're going to have Scott Spreitzer, we're going to have Marco D'Angelo, and we're going to have special guest picker, handicapper.
Who is it?
Tony George.
Tony George is in town.
Oh, yeah, he is. He is.
They'll give you their late take on the Super Bowl along with hoops for them. Be sure to tune in at pregame.tv.